I'm feeling a little bit like David Letterman here, so you're going to have to be very patient with me, okay? He says I broke my foot. I really broke my foot off the bottom of my leg. I broke my tibia and fibia. So we're going to go through this together with me trying not to scream in pain. I want to, first of all, can we give a big round of applause for the 6 souls that walked up here this month and gave us their stories and their connection to the Lord? From Robo Krebs's incredible walk out on faith all the way through to Monica Clevenger's discussion of the 3 parables. I was home last week and I was worried about my message and because I'm a storyteller. For those of you that don't know me, I've written for the Herald and Review and I write for the Decatur Tribune. I also did radio down at the other end of the block doing sports. We covered Milliken and we covered Decatur high school sports, and I did that with Scott Buzzboom, God rest his soul. And I also just walked out on March 22nd, my 35th year of public school service, defending, protecting, teaching, and taking care of children. Don't clap for me, because on April 1st, I walked out right into a DPS 61 school board member seat. So please pray for me. My perspective today is going to be a little different than the other 5 members. Monica was talking last week about 3 parables: the gold coin, the prodigal son, and the lost sheep. What she didn't know is I'm the prodigal that stole the sheep and took the gold coin. My story is going to be very different than the other ones. This is, I believe, what is called a testimony. And it's also, in the Catholic faith, what is called a confession of one of my greatest sins. I'm going to take off my armor today before you. I'm going to tell you something about I'm very ashamed of. I've never not told this story and not cried. So there might be some tears today. Please forgive me. There's also never been a time I haven't told the story. I haven't laughed. But I'm also a teacher, so I believe in teaching. So let's jump into some scripture. Can I get the tech team to put Ecclesiastes 3, 1 through 10 up? Because this is really what my story is wrapped around. A baseball team that taught me this, that pounded this into me. King Solomon's teaching about humanity and the pendulum swings that go through it. That is what Ecclesiastes 3, 1 through 10 is about. Now, some people think it's a bird song that went to number 1 in 1965. Before that, King Solomon used this to tell his people, you're not entitled to a bump-free ride. You're going to get scratches on your car. And I was a person that became a monster. I got lost in thinking I had all the answers. I was going to get this. I was going to get that. In a very petulant, I say downright hateful relationship with my God. And yet he redeemed me and saved me. He sent me a baseball team that blessed me. And I'm going to talk to you about that baseball team in a minute. But let's jump into Scripture. Ecclesiastes 3, 1 through 10. There is a time for everything, a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to tear down and a time to build. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to scatter stones and a time to gather them. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to search and a time to give up. A time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear down and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, and a time for war and a time for peace. What do workers gain from their toil? I have seen the burden God has laid on the human race. Now, Solomon is trying to fill the room with understanding. He's trying to tell them that, and he's trying to reconstruct for people what humanity is. Our time here comes with birth, and in between are highs and lows that take us to different places and different pains and different sufferings and different joys. I've been a coach in Central Illinois for over 30 some odd years. I've coached football, basketball, and baseball. And today I'm going to tell you the story of the greatest team I ever coached. Now, you're going to raise your eyebrows, and some of you are going to squirm in your seats a little bit, particularly those that have coached before. The greatest team I ever coached went 0-24. They couldn't find an acorn if they fell out of a tree on their heads. But they taught me Ecclesiastes. And they taught me that just because I was caught in a war, that God didn't make the war, He was in the foxhole with me. And I never understood that, particularly with what I was going through. Now, some of you know my story. For 5 years, I was dying of renal kidney failure. I had stage 5 kidney failure. I was on dialysis for 5 years, and my body became a prison. Every Tuesday, every Thursday, and every Saturday, I would wake. I would drive from my house to Fresenius in Mount Zion. They would put me in a chair. They would put a 16-gauge needle with a tube into my fistula. And for 5 hours, I had to sit there as they took the blood out of my system, put it in what looked like a Dairy Queen ice cream maker with a centrifuge, and then clean my blood, take out 15 pounds of fluid, put the blood back into my system, and clean my system so I could go from Tuesday to Thursday, from Thursday to Saturday. That became my life. I started losing things. Doctors started taking away things from me. I felt very caged. I felt very, very alone in what I was going through. The thing was, I was never alone. And I'm going to tell you how. I was being counseled by a hospice nurse who was telling me I need to make my final plans. I was really mean to her. I pushed her away. I didn't want to have anything to the pamphlet she was giving me and the counseling she was giving me because I thought it was surrendering. In my pain and in my brokenness, in my sickness and the constant vomiting and the inability to go to the bathroom, the bad smells, the weight I was putting on, I was advised by doctors to give up my coaching. They said it was putting too much stress on my system and that I needed to quit. Well, the only thing I had to hold on to during my dialysis, and there were days I literally would crawl up the stairs 2 flights to my classroom, literally would crawl, so I could get to my kids and teach them. The only joy I had in my life was my teaching and my coaching. And now they were taking that away. In my brokenness and in my oneness, I turned away from God. I figured in the Bible, I'd heard all these stories about how God could fix anything. God could do anything. Why had He given one of His shepherds of children this unbelievable, painful journey? It's a strange place to be in your life when you're praying for death and you're praying for life at the same time. I became a monster. I slapped away the hands that took care of me. My lovely wife, who took a vow for better or worse and never saw the worst that was coming and never quit. Never quit on me, never quit on our family, kept us together and kept us going. Well, I'm getting ready to resign from baseball. I'm talking to my athletic director about it at Eisenhower, Steve Thompson. And Steve's like, let's hold off a little bit. Let's wait and see, and we'll see if you can do this. Okay? Well, I knew he couldn't find anybody to coach. I don't know if you know this. Decatur Eisenhower is not exactly a baseball sanctuary. Okay? We're bad. I mean, you're going to find out how bad in a minute, okay? Well, anyway, my seniors, I had 2 seniors, okay, and I had 2 juniors from the previous team. That's all I had that had played any baseball, okay? And they were coming to me saying, hey, coach, let's go one more season. Stay for the seniors so you can do it. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I was smacking them away too. I wanted to slink off into the swamp. I had to go sit down with my lawyer and plan my last will and testament. Who was getting what in my life? It was a rough journey. And these kids are coming to me saying, Coach, stay one more year. And I didn't think I had one more year in me. And I knew the season was going to be an epic failure. I don't know if you know this, Decatur Eisenhower plays in a conference called the Central State 8. It is if not one of the premier baseball conferences in Central Illinois. It has Chatham-Glenwood in it. As a matter of fact, Reed Detmers, who graduated from that high school and played for that baseball program, just pitched last night for the Los Angeles Angels. He was on TV last night. You've got Normal U High, who is a perennial power, who can recruit whoever they want in that community to play baseball for them because they're a private school. You've got Springfield High, Jacksonville. You've got all of these incredible baseball powers. And I'm getting ready, I thought, to enter a mule in the Kentucky Derby. Okay. So I don't think there's going to be enough baseball players, and so I tell to field a team, so I tell these kids to go get a baseball team. Well, lo and behold, they come and they have 12 kids, okay? So I say, okay, leave me alone. Okay, leave me alone, let me think about it. And I go home and I ask the general if I can coach one more season. Now, you married men out there know if the general ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. And my wife, faithfully, who had been taking care of me, toileting me, bathing me, watching me crawl to the toilet to throw up every day, asked me if I could. I asked her if I could coach one more season. Now, the silence was deafening. Now, my wife, okay, when she's mad, she does what we call the jet stream. She walks to the house, gets the dirty clothes, starts throwing the clothes in the laundry. She goes and empties the dishwasher, and she starts walking around the house. And she won't talk to you. And then when she calms down, she starts bobbleheading you. And you ever been bobbleheaded? Okay, my wife can bobblehead with the best of them, okay? She starts telling me, you know the toll it's going to take on your body. You know the tax you're going to have to pay. This is going to take days off the end of your life. And all I could keep saying to her was, I don't care what God has done to me. I'm going to die with my boots on. And in ever-loving fashion, she kissed my cheek and she said, we'll go wherever you want to go. And we started our journey. So I had my first team meeting, okay? Now, I got 4 kids that can play baseball. Play baseball. I didn't say they were good. I said play baseball, okay? Okay? 8 other kids come in, okay? I have an index card I fill out. And I have them answer questions like, where have you played travel ball? What are some things you've done in baseball? Blah, blah. 2 of the kids they never played baseball before. They were just happy to be there, okay? 2 kids said they played t-ball when they were kids. One kid put on his card, and I swear to you, he said, the only reason I came to the meeting is I thought there were going to be free snacks. For the rest of that season, the kid had the best nickname on the team. They called him Snacks. It was fantastic. So we piece it together. I tell the athletic director I'm going to coach one more season. We begin practice. Okay. The first practice, 3 kids get hit in the face with baseballs because they had never caught before. I've got to send them to the trainer to get fixed, so I'm out there with the rest of the kids working. Those kids come back. I've got to separate them and practice separately and do very basic drills with them to get them to go. And I asked them, I said, have you not played catch with your fathers in the backyard before? They didn't even know how to throw. And 2 of them looked at me and said, I don't have any fathers. I don't have a dad. So we begin rudimentary practices, and we start taking infield. I'm ricocheting balls off these kids. My assistant coach is firing. Balls are bouncing everywhere. No one's catching a ball and throwing it to first. Nobody. My seniors, they're trying to help. They can play a little bit. They're fielding, not a shortstop, but they're trying. They're helping me with take kids off to the side and throw. We're trying to piece it together. We do outfield practice. And oh, please pray for me. Balls were landing out there like meteors hitting the planet Earth. 4 kids I made put a batting helmet on because I was afraid a ball was going to hit them in the skull. They were spinning out there like butterflies dancing in the field. We had to stop and do rudimentary footwork steps to teach them how to catch the ball. I started to get angry. I started to get angry at the predicament I was in, that the quest I had chosen to go on. My dialysis in 2017, this is my 2018 team, I had been getting bad diagnosis. My dialysis was going bad. I was getting sicker, and my body was working less. So I'm going through this practice, and I'm getting madder and madder. I'm getting angrier and angrier. Finally, one kid is so bad, I'm going to kick him off the baseball team. In my anger and rage, I'm done. So I grab the kid and I say, I need to see your mother Friday. I want to see her Friday. Now, for the rest of the days of the week, I'm preparing my elevator speech to kick this kid to the curb. I can't wait to actually go down to 11 kids so I don't have to see him anymore. So Friday comes, okay, and I'm sitting in the bleachers with the kid, and all of a sudden, this African-American woman comes running out of a car, running up and squeezes me as hard as she can. She kisses me on the cheek, and she says, Coach, I want to thank you. Now, in my mind, I've got a raging lion in a cage ready to get out and tell her son is unworthy of being on my team. And she begins to tell me, I want to thank you for believing in my son. He hasn't skipped a day of school. He had all F's, and now he has all D's. He hasn't had a referral. You've changed his life. Then she sits down on the bleachers and says, Coach, what'd you want to say to me? And all that could come out of my mouth was, I want to let you know how proud I am of your son. And I'm glad that he's made the baseball team. He's made us better with his hard work and determination. Don't tell me God don't intervene. So I got the team pieced together, and then the first game begins. We're playing Chatham-Glenwood in a doubleheader. We lost 40-0, and we would have lost worse. But the coach told his kids they were hitting doubles and balls off the wall and shots everywhere off my kids, to stop it first. And so they went station to station. I'm sure the score could have been 100-0, but he took pity on a bunch of wretches. Really, in that group, there was only one wretch. That game took place in a steady little misty downpour, and if you guys know Illinois Springs, they're miserable. So we get on the bus, we're going back home, and all of a sudden, I'm sitting there shivering in the back of the bus, soaked to the bone. I had to cut my dialysis session short so I could coach that day. So I'm pretty sick. I remember rain dripping off the bill of my cap, and all of a sudden a kid yells, "Hey, coach, look, a rainbow." And all the kids ran over to the side of the bus and looked outside, and were looking at a rainbow. And I came out of the back of the bus like a Brahma bull coming out of a rodeo chute. And I said, "Sit down. For you, there are no rainbows. Going forward, there will be no color." And I became Captain Ahab on the deck of the Pequod in Moby Dick. I had an hour of practice. I had them come in at 6 in the morning and hit. And God bless every one of their souls. They never missed a practice, even though I was doubling the work and driving them like mules through the mud. I became angry at my wife. I hid from my friends. I was ashamed to be a part of everything, my life, and who and what I was. And then the real story started. After a hard week, one incredibly hard week of practice, I'm getting ready for practice to start. I look over in the dugout, and the kids are passing around a tennis can and putting dollars in it. And then they start showing various and sundry parts of their body to each other. So I go running over. I'm putting an end to this. I don't know what's going on. High school boys, anything could have been going on in that dugout. And I go over and I ask them, "What are you doing?" And they said, "We're showing, and we've got a bet to see who has the worst bruise during the season." In my cruelty and my rage, I didn't. And they were showing such toughness. We started going to games, and I'm shivering pretty bad from my sickness in the dugout. Next thing I know, one of the kids comes down and puts their arm around me. Now, I'm not a person you want to put your arm around, okay? What was started was a thing called cuddle buddies, okay? That's what the kids called them. They started cuddling with me in the dugout because they wanted to keep me warm. I asked my kids, I said, "What are you doing? Why is your hand on me?" And they said, "Dev said if we don't cuddle with you, he's going to hurt us. And we're more scared of Dev than we are of you." So every inning, the 3 that were in the dugout, anybody I took out would come down and put their arm around me while I was coaching this menagerie. Their academic progress became amazing. They came to school every day. Some of the kids made honor roll. Teachers were coming to me every day asking what I was doing to tutor them and help them. And I swear to all of you, I had never, ever done anything for those kids other than yell and scream and push them every day. They raised hundreds of dollars for the Good Samaritan Inn because I said, if we're going to be a bad baseball team, we're going to be good people. And every one of them busted it to get me the money to go to the Good Samaritan Inn and hand them hundreds of dollars. The kid I was going to kick off the baseball team, his mom came up to me and told me, because she didn't have any money, that he detailed 5 cars for $20 a pop so he could hand me the $100 to put in there. Now, I walked up to the kid and I said, "I would have given you the $100. Why did you You know how hard it is to detail a car? People pay hundreds of dollars for detailing cars. Why did you do that? And he looked at him and he said, God sees your hard work, sir. And then the rain out with Central A&M happened. Central A&M is a little town south of us. Their high school had 1 win. We had 0. We worked the diamond the night before. We were going to play them on a Saturday. Friday made the kids stay. I went to Dollar General, bought every bag of kitty litter they had so I could put it on the field if it rained. So we raked kitty litter around the base paths. We worked the field. And every kid stayed to do that, by the way. And then we left, and then we came back. We were getting ready to put our uniforms on, and I was getting ready to call Central A&M and tell them, hey, you can come, it looks good. And then the coach said, have you looked at the radar? And I turned and I looked left, and I thought I was Charlton Heston in the movie The 10 Commandments. It was black across the skyline. And it rained, and it poured, and it hammered. And I remember going on the other side of the dugout and calling the coach and telling him we were going to have to cancel. And I remembered squeezing the fence saying, how dare you take away our one chance to get these kids a win. They have done their grades. They have worked hard. And I squeezed the fence, hoping lightning would strike it and kill me. And then, on the other side of the dugouts, I heard all of this laughter and joy. And I went around, and the kids were out on the field using the field as a slip and slide. They're throwing mud at each other, having the time of their lives. In my mind, I'm thinking about everything that has been taken away from me. I reflected on my life was being taken away from me. And out there, they were just showing unbridled joy in the mud. And then it started. Rick Abernathy is an umpire in there. I don't know if any of you know him. Stopped me after a game after we were shaking hands after another crushing defeat. Rantoul. I remember the day it started. And he said, hey, coach, we're going to pray over you after the game. And I could feel my soul shriveling up in my spine. I didn't want to have anything to do with it. And Rick got us together, and everybody put hands on me and started praying. Justin Kahn wrote a famous story about what I was going through. Some of you might have read it in the Herald and Review. And pretty soon, wherever I went, schools, umpires were coming up and putting their hands on me and asking if they were prayed for me. People had children that were on dialysis. They were bringing them games and hoping that I would sit down and talk to them like I was some celebrity. And they fought, and they kicked, and they clawed. Now let's put Ecclesiastes back up on the screen. When Jeff asked me the question, what is that one thing I learned? What is that one thing on your journey God taught you? Well, I'm going to go through it with you. There is a time for everything, a season for every activity under the sun, even looking out the window to see a rainbow when you're suffering. There is a time to be born and a time to die. In between it, I'm sorry. You're going to suffer, and there's going to be suffering. You can turn away from your God, or you can turn to Him. Take a lesson from a wretch. You don't want to be me. There is a time to plant and a time to uproot. If you're a farmer, you might have a crop go bad. God didn't do that to you. He is with you. There's a time to kill and a time to heal. That team did not heal my body. I got a miracle later that did. But they bought me time to heal my soul, which is far more important than healing my body. A time to kill and time to heal. A time to tear down and a time to build. You might lose a business or two. You might have to fight through a bankruptcy. God did not do that to you. He is with you. A time to weep and a time to laugh. I cried more and laughed with that team than any team I've ever had. I've never laughed so hard in my life. But it was done with joy. A time to embrace and a time to refrain. Do I need to say more about them cuddle buddies? A time to search and a time to give up. My wife searched and searched and searched. Took me to doctors all over the country. Drove my sick carcass from doctor to doctor who gave us nothing but bad news. And every time, she faithfully fought to get me a kidney transplant that allowed me to be here today. A time to be silent and a time to speak. Yes, there is a time to share your witness and your testimony about God to people. They need to hear it. There's a time to love and a time to hate. More love, less hate. But there's a time for both. A time for war and a time for peace. That 0-24 team taught me, and I told them this. Gordon Voight filmed it. I thank them for teaching me how to die. Because at that time, I didn't know if I was going to make it or not. But more importantly, how to live. To find joy in the suffering. To not lash out at the people that are caring for you, because I did. I lost my faith, and in it all, the one thing I learned is God loved me anyway. It didn't matter how many times I banged my fist on his chest and pushed him away. He got in the foxhole with me. Now, Proverbs 16:9. Can you get it up on the screen? Teaches us, in their hearts humans plant their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. I did not chart my course. But every time I've looked back over my shoulder, God's plan for me was better. I'm not telling you it wasn't painful. There were thousands of needles, dozens of surgeries, a 14-hour surgery to save my life. And in it, I figured out God was with me. He sent me a team that was tougher than the situation we were in, that showed joy in the suffering,